Hey everyone, welcome to POPXP. And before the show starts, make sure to click that subscribe button and click the bell to get notifications when we go live and we upload awesome new content. And don't forget, if you can, make sure to share our stream on all your social media outlets. We appreciate it, and thanks for helping us grow the POPXP channel. Hey, what is going on YouTube? It's the brain of the mainframe here, Nile Scott with the POPXP, and joining me is the doctor himself, Mr.
That's
Dr.
me.
B, the Blevins, the Blevinsnator. What are you up to, man?
Scout? Dude, I am super excited about the guest that we have today. As usual, like absolutely incredible. Like he said something to me on Facebook one time, and I flipped out. So I'm just super excited. I cannot wait to get on here and talk about the definitive issue of his Last Ronin story.
Phenomenal work.
Yeah, dude, it was incredible.
I'm pumped. He's our favorite. I think our guest right now. I think this is our favorite creator, man.
100%.
We talk about this all the time, so let's do it. Without further ado, everyone, we're happy to welcome Mr. Kevin Eastman back to the show. Hey, Kevin, how are you?
Yeah, that was quite an introduction. Thank you.
Hey, man. You know what? We love what you do. We love what you do.
It's true. Forever. I mean, I've loved turtles. I think more than I've loved anything except for my family. You know, really. Like, I know that sounds like kind of a joke, but it's the truth.
I hope he's not watching.
I always think, when a fan like you says something like that, I first thank you, then I ask you to extend the thanks to your parents who probably spent a fortune on turtle toys back in the day.
It's probably too much money, and as an adult, I've probably spent too much money on turtle toys.
Probably. Yeah,
I'm still still trying to get the Genghis frogs. Have not been able to get them yet. Still, it's something that I'm shooting for. But eventually I'll end up getting them.
Now,
and hopefully I'll win. Hopefully I'll win an auction on your page. Like, I keep losing. I just can't win. I want to get a Chrome Fugitoid. So sorry, just taking up all your time over. So
no, it's all good. We're all in from the same mind space, so it's all good.
Now, for your auctions and everything, because you guys, you have like all this old new stock, it looks like. Now, do you guys buy collections, or how do you guys get all this stuff? Or is it just things you've accumulated all through years?
Yeah. A lot, I would say 80 to 90% is definitely stuff that I'm an absolute pack rat of epic proportions, and saved everything, especially back in the day, when Peter and I would have a new license or something new would come out. It was always like we'd each get some, and that went into storage boxes and it was sort of put away. It's like, and it ended up after years, it ended up like in Indiana Jones, the Ark of the Covenant, one of those areas,
Would you say you're the pack rat king? The pack rat king? What's up?
Oh, look at you.
That's a good one. I like that.
That's why you're here. That's why you're here, Blevins.
I'm definitely stealing that, using it. But yeah, it is. So even just recently, Courtney and I were doing some reorganizing, and we went through and I found like these door hang tags and just some old Dark Horse from the old Metal Miniatures backing boards, and just stuff that I was like, oh my god, it was just in a box with lots of other interesting stuff, and you sort of layers down. It's like 10 of these, 15 of those. I found a whole bunch of the little Turtles comics that were in the cereal, Turtle cereal.
Yeah. I forgot about those little comics. I've actually been on this like little comic collecting spree, like the old, the Drake's Cakes used to have them. High C did them, and they're these little mini Marvel comic books. I'm gonna have to find some of these turtle ones too to add to my little mini collection.
I know I think we had some recently on for sale on the site, because I found I think Fiona was putting them out as I think it was like 20 sets of all three in sign and stuff. So but yeah, that's the fun stuff, and so the sci-fi stuff, and I had completely forgotten about it as well, and it's really neat to see it again. So
man, it's neat to see in the posts, because I saw like a toothbrush set, and it's funny because I'm like, I won't use that toothbrush set now, because it's for like little kids. But I actually contemplated, because
my generation, we're just, nostalgia is like, I don't know. I guess we're just missing.
It's at an all-time high for sure.
It's an all-time high. So like, you really sit there, I'm like, and then I go on eBay, right? And I'm seeing if people have this or that or whatnot. And I'm like, and then I snap into reality. They're like, I shouldn't do that. But I want it.
Do you know this now? Like when you get something from the site, like it actually is like labeled from the personal collection of Kevin Eastman. Like it actually says that. Like again, it's just it's so great. You know, like I don't know of any other person that has that stuff. Like that actually marketed that as well.
No, it's crazy, and I love it, and it's neat to sort of put it, because ultimately like some of the stuff I just mentioned, I've got 20 of them, and do I really need 20? No, so I keep one.
Yeah.
To burden our children with, like, oh, dad's stuff. But I keep one of that, and then we put the rest out for that same for the little nostalgia fans out there. They like, oh yeah, Turtle Fan Club. I remember.
Now, do you have like I know like with Brian Polito's kind of rebuilt the whole Coffin Comics universe and everything with Lady Death and all that. And within his warehouse, there's a museum in there now. And, from the original sketches he did of Lady Death back in the day. Is that something, and maybe you already have, maybe you do have something like this, and I apologize if you do, but would you ever think of taking all these items that you have, maybe, it's the ones you've kept, would you be open up your own, Kevin Eastman collection museum or something?
It's yes. And actually, interestingly enough, the closest I came to that was when IDW moved into their new location a number of years ago. They've transitioned out of it, I think 5 or 6 years ago. They had the San Diego Comic Art Museum right in Liberty Station here in San Diego. So the IDW offices were upstairs. But part of the component of being in that space was you have to have something, gallery space or something open to the public. And so Ted wanted to do this art gallery, so I curated it. So I would set up all the shows and the things, but within that space I had my office. I basically took everything off the walls in the office that I had, and I put it into this space. So a lot of it was original Turtle toys and things that had been in storage. I just put it on shelves, but it was my desk and materials from that. So a lot of it was on display. And so fans could go in and you could see they had like 2 or 3 big windows, so you could sort of walk around and see everything. But that was fun. I'd do that.
Cool.
Shh, come with me. We're gonna see a Komichi Libro artifact in his natural habitat. Shh. He's even drawing right now.
One of the things that I felt was important about having the studio space right in the middle of the gallery, it sort of sets up the environment where someone like me sits there and creates, and the turtles that I draw, the things that I do right here in this space become comic books, that become prints and original art that hangs on the walls.
What you see on the walls of the San Diego Comic Art Gallery is the evolution of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, which Eastman co-created in 1984 with Peter Laird.
I did this sketch of a turtle, nunchuck strapped to his arms and a mask on, and gave it to Pete. He laughed, thought it was the silliest thing he ever saw. So he, of course, had to do a drawing to top my drawing. So I did a sketch of all 4. So, well, what do we name them? Well, if it's an idea as absurd as Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Doug, Bob, Steve doesn't really work. And I just blurted out, how about after some of my favorite Renaissance painters?
I'm Leonardo.
I'm Michelangelo.
Donatello.
I'm Raphael.
Yeah, all the good ones, and
He was like, that's it, we have to call him that.
Harry Katz curated the exhibit and was thrilled that Eastman kept just about everything relating to the turtles.
You can see where the turtles came from, where this sort of cultural phenomenon came from.
The original scraps of paper, the Post-it note where it's like, Donatello's mask should be purple, or some of the story notes for the earliest comic books I wrote on yellow line paper. I didn't know how to type, and so you see my bad spelling and my handwriting.
A doodle, a sketch made in the living room turns into comic books, then graphic novels.
And you can see exactly how that creative process works through the exhibit at the gallery.
Yeah, they're going to see how comic books are made, and that's pretty exciting. Comic books were considered a low form of art, but when you actually see the original art, you see intellect and the thought that goes into these things and how they're put together, I think it gives you a much better appreciation of how much they mean to us and how much effort goes into making really a popular and commercially viable book.
And IDW should know. It publishes the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle books, and the comic art gallery that opened last night has been a long-term project of the company's founder and CEO, Ted Adams.
So we started IDW in 1999, so we've been in San Diego for 16 years, and we've had great success here and been able to grow our business. We have over 50 employees now in the city of San Diego. And what we wanted to do was be able to give back to that community. And we really thought that since San Diego is so identified with comics because of Comic-Con, that there was a chance here to essentially have a little bit of a Comic-Con year-round. And what we're trying to do is educate people about the art of comic books, how they're made.
When people look at the amount of work that goes into a comic story, it's an amazing amount of intensive work.
There's a comic book writer who sat down and wrote a script, and there was a comic book penciler who sat down and penciled it out, and an inker who finished that pencil illustration, a colorist who came in and did their work, and a letterer who came in and put the word balloons on, an editor who put it all together, a publisher who brought it to the market. I think those are really interesting things for the public to learn more about, and they can do that here at the San Diego Comic Art Gallery.
They can also enjoy the lending library and discover who the fifth turtle was.
Yeah, she was created specifically for the next Turtles: The Next Mutation, a live-action TV series.
It's all at the San Diego Comic Art Gallery at Liberty Station. Beth Accomando, KPBS News.
That's cool. Well, let's dive into it. Let's dive into the fifth issue came out of the final installment, The Last Ronin. You were kind enough to come on and hang out with myself. Billy Tucci was on too. We were talking about when the first issue came out, and it was just like, whoa, mind blown. And I remember Blevins, said to you, he's like, why did you reveal The Last Ronin in the first issue? But it obviously we know why. Going through the rest of the book, how does it feel now that story arc, that run, the fifth issue's out, and now that complete set's out? How does it feel to have that full story now out to the fans?
Incredible, actually. Honestly, it feels wonderful and it really quite humbling in that the way that it was received. Even Tom, when I dusted off the original 20-page document that Pete and I had created back in '87, and in the same mindset where when we looked at it back then, where are the Turtles going to be in 30 years, and we sort of wrote this ending, and then when we were approaching issue 100, pulled it out and said, where are we going to, where do we want to go from here, Tom? And we looked, down the future and embraced this story, and it was exciting and scary, and thinking like, how do we pay respect to all the original in this sort of Dark Knight sort of universe that we were doing the final Turtle story, but leaving the door open for options within this universe that we fell in love with. And but yeah, it's been quite a journey, and it really took me right back to the way Peter and I used to work back in the day, which is sort of Tom and I took the material and broke out a treatment, and then I would do everything through layouts and paste the story together through there, and then work with some pretty incredible artists, these Squares brothers and Ben Bishop and Lewis, the colorist Delgado, and but man, what a journey! It's been awesome, incredible.
Yeah. Well, I definitely want to say I think the writing was fun. Like I already thought, when we did have you on the show, only the first issue had came out. Like after that, like reading all the issues all the way up to the penultimate one, like the writing was so incredible, and little nuances that people didn't notice is like as people started to die. Spoiler alert! I mean, we all know that it happens after the first episode, but as the story gets told and the other turtles start to die, like you guys actually write the change of Michelangelo's mindset. I mean, to where, again, like I said, that penultimate the issue number 4. I mean, like he was he broke. He was at the breaking point. He's like, man, there's no more cowabunga, dude. There's no more pizza time. Like that. He didn't exist anymore. He died with all of his brothers, and now like he's they're on a mission. And man, just absolutely incredible. And yeah, the last episode was, or the last issue. I say episode. Sorry about that. But the last issue was. I thought it was extremely well done. very fitting end. I loved the other twists and stuff that came of it. Man, it was just amazing. It was exactly what somebody like me, who has been a turtle lover this whole time, would like to see the progression end up in. And I mean, it hit.
Well, it was like the turtles grew up with us now, you know, because I'm
absolutely.
30. What am I? 37, and you know, it was like a nice, it was a good like adult story. Let me put it that way, and it just brought the turtles like right back for me into like a really defined moment now. And I've loved that ever since you came back with the IDW series. I mean, it really just has, you know, the whole series has blown me out of the water. I loved what you've done, but this series here was just incredible. Like just that the raw like I would love, this is like truly something I'd love to see adapted to like a film or something. Like I'd like to see it played out
like a movie. I mean, like the Batman Ninja Turtles, you know, when they did the Batman Ninja Turtles movie, I'd love to see something like that with this story, because I mean it fits perfect, and it's from the original source material. It does have some of the cartoon antics associated with it, very minuscule, but I mean it is definitely what you guys originally set out to do. And I'm glad that you completed the original story. You know, this wasn't the you know, the cartoon story. There was no neutrinos. There was, you know what I'm saying? Like there's none of those people. Like, yeah. Anyway, sorry.
But that's it's everything you said is more than much appreciated, and it was really, you know, when we started on the journey, it was, you know, because of the time period of you know, 1987 was the original idea. We knew that it was going to be big and lean heavily on all things Mirage. In fact, you know, you could almost say, you know, everything that was set up in issue 1, even though there's, you know, with Baxter and April and from issue 2 and issue 3, or issue 2 and beyond, that was the beginning and this was the ending. You could almost put them together, because that was in every version of the Turtles. You know, the same core story, the same heart and soul was always, you know, the 4 brothers, the adoptive family, the father figure Splinter. Then you had, you know, and I was always thrilled that both April and Casey made it into almost every version. Baxter made it into every version, but we wanted to go back to that, you know, with not only, there was not a lot of other choices, that, and not that we wanted any other. It was like, that's what Peter and I thought about. And that was, we wanted to respect that and honor that. And that was probably the biggest, not stressful thing, but the something that I was very keenly aware of through the whole journey, was like paying respects to my original partner and the original co-creator, and make sure that we do it and do it right. And that's part of the delay. I think, if, you know, there were delays, and I've apologized a bunch of times, and sincerely, it just sort of, you get into the minutiae, and I'm like, you know, that's one other thing that reminded me of working with Peter back in the day, is we did big 40-page books, and there was always delays. We were always late, and I was like, you know, it takes a lot of time to get it done right, and we were really appreciative of that, and we feel that it said everything we wanted to say, and we couldn't be more thrilled it was received the way it was. And
yeah, with how tragic how tragic the story is, and of course, like everything you talk about, I mean, it really is a love letter to the fans. I mean, like, it straight up is fan service at its best. And, you know, like, you watch all these TV shows, and, you know, you get involved with TV shows later on, and whenever they have an ending, everyone's just like, oh my God, that ending was horrible. Oh my God, I hated the ending. Like, they didn't do it justice. I mean, there's no one that can say that about this. No one that I know that's a true Turtle fan. There's no one that can say that with this story. I think that it was perfect. And the epilogue, of course, opens up for a new storyline maybe down the road. But, you know, yeah, man,
I'll be honest, I didn't notice the delays, because, you know, because
yeah,
I didn't notice the delays because, well, each issue is very satisfying, right? And the story goes on, and but because I'm friends with most of the guys that work on the book and everything, so I get this. I was able to see like those updates, like, you know, everyone does their little social media, hey, finish another page, this and that, you know. So it was like I was on the journey with them, so I didn't notice the delays, but it was cool though, and I'm kind of, you know, with a story like that, right? Just that definitive, you know, Last Ronin story. Where do you go from here? Are you looking to try to do more mini series like this?
Great question, and it really was, you know, when we stepped off issue 100 and handed the reins over to the incredibly awesome and capable Sophie Campbell to ride, take over the driving. Tom and I get to move to the back seat, side seat, shotgun. It was doing this, and then originally it was going to take a much shorter period of time than it did, and then we were going to come back and we had this idea where with what Sophie was doing in the stories within Mutant Town, that we wanted to come back with some of the plot lines of things that we had left open on purpose at the leading up to issue 100, like the Pantheon and stuff. So we wanted to come back and intertwine those two series, those two worlds together. So that's what we jumped straight back into. That so Armageddon game is rolling out as we speak, and that's really fun. But for the universe, the other universe of Last Ronin, we have ideas that we came up with. It's funny, as we were going through the series, we had never imagined doing anything else within the Ronin universe, but we really fell in love with the Ronin universe. So both Tom and I think, were stacking up little post-it notes of ideas. When we finally got a chance to sit down after the series was done, taking a couple of weeks of deep breathing and detox, got together and said, well, if we told other stories in this world, what would they be? And it just came out like a flood of like, well, we could do this, we could do this. So we're definitely looking for the right story to move in further down into that Last Ronin universe that makes sense, because that's to me that was always the beautiful part about all things IDW with the Turtle universe, IDW Turtle universe. It was always, and certainly Tom was first and foremost, it was always story first, and Bobby Kernow, who is an incredible series editor and very incredibly talented, brought a lot of plot and storytelling of his own into the mix. But it was always never doing anything gimmicky for hey, if we kill this character, maybe we'll sell more books, and hey, if we do something just to do something, maybe we'll sell. It was just never that. It was very organic, and things were told story first and make sure it works. I mean, the idea of Jenica being the fifth turtle, the first female turtle, that was an idea we had 2 years, almost 2.5 years before it actually came out. It had to be the right place and the right space and the right timing, and it had to work just the way it had to work right. And I appreciate that approach, that we didn't, there wasn't pressure. It was nothing but support from Nickelodeon and Viacom and IDW to do it right. So
is there a reason you chose Jenica over Venus?
Yes, a couple of reasons. One is Venus was when I worked on that series, it was there were a number of blunders. The way that kind of came together, I worked hard on the series, and I liked the series a lot, back in the original live action series, but there was some things that could have done obviously a lot better. But with Jenica, the approach was, when Tom introduced this character, Jenica, in issue 51, it was a foot assassin like character, and she was only going to be in for 4 issues. And the more we got involved with her characterization and building her out, we just really liked her. We said we can do a lot more with this character, and she steadily evolved to the point where, by the time we got into issue early 60s, she was also a fan favorite. And so we were thinking, this could be the character. This could be the great opportunity to have something that's already established as a character the fans have already embraced, and using comic book science of a la She-Hulk. Down the road we could sort of bring her to life as the fifth turtle, and then if people hated it, there was still that opportunity to realistically and story-wise transition her back to that character. But that was again one of those things that everything fit together just wonderfully. And
I like Jenica. I just thought I'd ask.
I know what
Sophie's doing a great spin on Venus right now, which I adore. I think it's great. It's right. Anyway, go ahead.
No. And I will say this other thing too, like when you talk about telling other stories within the Ronin universe, like obviously we're at the end of all of this. The whole dynamic between obviously you don't really want to focus too much on the bad guys, but the whole growing up and the mentality that was set up with Oroku and his mom and stuff. I mean, I really think there could be more from that story as well, like that I think people would love to see, because people love to see how people become the bad guy. You know, it is definitely a story that I think would tell, to see how it got to that point. You know, like that level of hatred, that level of evil. You know, I think it would be great to see.
Yeah, that was definitely part of the inspiration. Is that we didn't want to have any of those ideas affect what we had already designed and what we were already doing with the story. But knowing sort of in that little pinprick in the back of your brain, your mind, that you can say, well, there's some great. We were laying down a foundation where you can go back to, time when there was, through the process of some of the other turtles passing away, and some of the instances that happened between all of that, before, the years of between Hiroto, when he was born, to when you finally meet him, and you just really don't get to see any of that. So there's some great opportunities to to do that, including what we call the lost years, which is after Michelangelo was in Japan and finds out what happened there. He says, then I just started walking. Well, it's like a 10, almost 15-year period from that time he just started walking to when he comes back to New York. So there's a great opportunity to tell what happened during those years with him alone.
Yeah, I can't wait. I'll read the Turtles.
Thank you.
It's true. It's true. Well, Kevin, man, I have to thank you for coming on and chatting with us. I really do appreciate it. And one thing, I know it's like a shill fest, right? But we can't help it. You're in that position, But I love talking to you because, for someone who literally created one of the biggest brands in the world, really, just this whole universe, you're a very truly humble man. Talking to you is always a pleasure. I very much enjoy it. Blevins, do you have anything else?
Yeah, well, let me just say, I always flip it back on you guys, and because when I was a kid, and I can speak actually for both Pete and I, is we were inspired by Jack Kirby. We bonded over Jack Kirby. We stand firmly on the shoulders of giants. Inspired us to go into this business, even though it horrified my parents. They were sure I'd never move out of the basement. I'd be one of those kids, what I mean, and could never make, and they, you got to be realistic. You can't provide for a family on drawing comic books, But with respects to the ones that inspired us, and then we would not have the greatest job if not for the greatest fans. And so the fact that we've had coming up on 40 years of fans that have bought the turtle books and supported them, and their parents who supported them supported us. But I still get to get up every day and over there and draw every day, and I love it. And that's with thanks to the fans for giving me the greatest job. And I'm a big kid, and I love it. It's funny because our son for the longest time didn't think I even had a job. He said, other people's parents go to work. They leave the house, they go to work. You just stay in your sweats and you draw cartoons all day. That's not a real job.
Oh yeah,
and I can't wait. I can't wait for Armageddon game. I mean, it looks amazing. That's why I made that joke about the Pat Rat King earlier, because Rat King is such an underused bad guy in the cartoon. Like, to think that that he could be something that really brings upon such destruction is incredible. And I'm hoping that eventually we get to see, like, since everybody's gone crazy over multiverses and everything, I'd love to maybe see a story where Shredder gets the turtles and they mutate, and they have to go against, Splinter's clan before he got turned into a rat, like he didn't meet the mutagen, I think something like that would be cool. But again, just absolutely a fan.
Just send them into the suggestion box.
Yeah. Just
there you go. Fold it, slide it in.
All my letters keep getting returned, so obviously you didn't get to read them.
Well, we got that restraining order and stuff.
Oh yeah, God.
Yeah.
Luckily, we found this loophole, huh? The streaming thing.
The internet. We can find you anywhere.
Exactly. And before we go, any conventions or anything that you're going to be at for fans?
Yeah, thanks for asking. Because we just did we did 2 this year, our first 2 since March of 2020. So we did Lexington, Kentucky, and Huntsville, Alabama. We did a couple 3 weeks ago now, and we've got I think 6 more coming up. But actually, I forget sometimes, so I just send people to go to the Kevin Eastman Studios website, the fan website, and it says where we're going to be and what's going on and the latest, and anything, any news and updates there you can always find out there. But it's been fantastic to be back out again, and I think everybody's missed it as much as we have missed it. So we had incredible turnouts at both those shows, and like I said, I think our next up is Montreal is in Washington. Oh, Washington Summer Fest! Yay! Washington's in June, and then Montreal's in July, and then San Diego Comic Con. So yeah, go to the website because I don't obviously know. But yeah, go to KevinEastmanStudios.com and it'll let you know what we're doing, and hopefully.
Do you know? Obviously, you know this. I'm sorry, I'm not trying to breathe this. So we saw a video of this gentleman. He purchased a first print CGC Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles #1, and it had a sketch of all the Ninja Turtles and Shredder and Splinter, and it was signed by both you and Peter Laird. Do you remember that or how that came about? Because I've never seen anything like that ever on the market.
It's pretty rare, and I remember doing, because I've done I'm about doing a lot more shows. He's pretty much fully retired, but he would still do small events around that he could drive to. He hasn't been on a plane since 1986. He doesn't like to fly, so we do mini shows, and it's still signed stuff that he did for a while. But finding one that had both of us
and all the pictures, like, it was crazy. Yeah, I showed it to Nile. I was so crazy about it. I was like, Nile, check this out. And
it
was amazing.
Yeah, no, that's the fun stuff. I like that. I like seeing those historical things and go, oh, I remember that. But it's
Cool.
Awesome.
Very cool. Well, Kevin, thanks again for joining us. Good luck with everything. Obviously, we'll keep reading everything you're putting out. We love it, and we know our fans love it, and they're going to love this interview. So again, thank you for coming on, and we'll catch you on the next one.
Thank you, guys. Cowabunga.
Right.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Hey everyone, thank you for joining us on POPXP. If you haven't already, make sure to click that subscribe button and also click the bell for notifications when we go live and we upload some awesome new content. Also, don't forget to head on over to Twitter and follow us at the POPXP and over on Instagram at the POPXP. Thanks again everyone, and we'll see you soon.